The concert was very exciting. It was one of the nicest concerts I've done because it was in the Barbican. It was nice working with the conductors in the hall.
The Barbican Centre is where I did my last concert with the London School Symphony Orchestra. We played music by Paul Patterson and Witold Lutosławski, the composers who conducted us. This film is about the hard work and the fun that made the event such a success.
We'll start with a full rehearsal of the Patterson at 2 o'clock, so you'll need to get ready quickly, please. The girls, as usual, are in long room. Otherwise, the rest of the boys are in St Michael's. Yes, hang on. Up your cases and instruments. Take your cases to your rooms and then come down for lunch, which is at 1 o'clock in about 5 minutes' time. Remember the boys, woodwind boys, cello and double bass boys, please wait here for a minute or two. Thank you very much.
Once before, but I play percussion, not timbs. And I've heard Paul Patterson and another youth orchestra do it, but I haven't played it.
Concerto for orchestra.
I'm very impressed by the way they've taken to it, because they're not used to playing modern music, and it is a difficult piece, a lot of tricky rhythms. Well, we just concentrated initially on one movement, and we started taking it apart, sort of picking up very quickly. And I suppose my first impression is that there are sort of no weaknesses in the orchestra.
Having the composer and the piece together is far more interesting than having a conductor who didn't compose it conduct it.
It's just basically difficult all around because I've never met anything like it.
It's a very hard piece, as Jacob says, so until we really get to know it, we can't really tell.
I think it's really interesting because there's so many little bits that you can pick up on.
So to do it with a youth orchestra is quite a challenge, really, because although youth orchestras can play it, they're not used to the idiom, and it's certainly sort of virtuosic for them to sort of get to grips with all the rhythms and complicated notes, and to be exposed in sort of ways which they've never been before in sort of more conventional music. Idea in the first movement is to bring all the sections of the orchestra, so they feature as soloists in sections rather than individuals.
It's hard to describe because it's made up of so many different bits.
It's a great showpiece for orchestra. Everyone has got, I think, an interesting part. There's certainly a lot for everybody to do, including percussion.
40. Oh, here we go. No one's got anything, have they? You've got 17 bars rest? Yeah. Right, 41. 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, E, 1, 2, 3, E. Yeah, look, the D lasts for 3 quavers, and it's too early. Ya, pa, pe, pa, pa, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, if you think about it in single quavers. Okay? So let's try just once more. 4. 1, 2, 3, E, 1, ba, ba. 1, okay, and we'll do it once more, because I got it wrong. But you got it right.
1, All right, 8, 2. 5, 2, 6, 2, 1, Go on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes, 6, 7, 8. You weren't ready? Right. Are we all set? After 2. Just keep counting whatever happens. If you get lost, find out where we are from somebody else, because I won't know. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2. That's okay, that's all right. We better go back and do it again, get used to go. This time we'll go on. And the problems we're having to face this morning are rushing from one instrument to the next and then back to the original one, having to memorize how many bars you have to move. So in other words, we may have 4 notes on the snare drum to play. You've got to count to 6, go and play the gong, count to 3, and rush back and play the snare drum on time. Then look frantically at your music, trying to find out where you're meant to be.
Now, you'll have to... Yeah, we need to do the second line down. We need to do the second line down, okay? And try once again to take short bows, otherwise you'll find there's not time to move, you know. If it takes too much, we're never going to get it rhythmic at all. Actually, the Patterson's good to play, because there's quite a lot to play in it. There's longish passages to play, as, I mean, you must have, you have noticed, obviously. And that's a good thing, I think. And I think they find that interesting, particularly in a modern context. So we're going to do the second line down. Okay? Here we go then. Bar for nothing. 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah, now there's a good chance during the show that Jonathan's going to play that bit wrong, so don't take any notice of him. You want to come off the B too quickly, okay? And it's wrong. And then there's a B natural there, going to B flat. But that's okay. But you always want to just hold it for crotchet. So we better try again. Okay, same place, once more. Hold on. Whoa. She's putting in Jonathan's going to play that bit wrong, actually. So before 20, we want the line above 3 bars. All right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's right. Now, so we're going to add the G before it at the same tempo. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. 2. Yeah. 1, 2. There's a falling piano coming. And a crescendo to that. 2, 3. 1, 2. And there's a crescendo through this. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
On first hearing, sort of first playthrough of the concerto, it did tend to sound rather bitty. Whereas working it through the week, you recognise more of the themes and has more of a sense of continuity. You understand the way it's moving along better.
It was an alien language, which quite surprised me, because I thought it was quite old hat sort of music, and then they discovered that they really couldn't understand what I was talking about. So that was the major problem.
He can't let one instrument have its say. He has to chop it all up and distribute it around the orchestra.
And we discovered during the week that there was no points of relaxation, although in the music there is. They were so concentrating, even in their rests. So it was a very sort of hard week from that point of view.
Tita, 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 tita. 2, 3. Ah, tita, tita. Some of you moving too quickly. Off of that. 2, 3. Fiddles. 2, 3. First fiddles. 2, 3. 1. Da di da di da da di da di da. Think in semiquavers. 2, 3. Da. I think it would help if you put the E flat more of an accent on it. Di da di da da da. 2, 3. Di da di da. Second. That's better. Second. 2, 3. No. Di da di da di da di da. Wait.
I think it's quite hard because I think that it is a youth orchestra, and although we're not bad, we're not that good. And I think if you've got the actual composer standing there, you can't get away with anything because it's his music, and therefore you've got to do justice to it.
Okay, let's see if at that tempo we can do that from 13. 2, 3. Di-da-di-da-di-da. It's a hard bit, this. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Well, not bad. Not brilliant, but not bad.
Yes, that was very good. The only thing I'd like to ask you is, in the fourth bar from the end, when you have this mezzo piano, just make an accent at the very beginning. Di ram pa. It should be, but very, very slightly. No, very slightly. Yes, let's practice once more. It goes still better, but I think it would be still better if you played it almost by heart. You know, if you have everything in your ears. You know, please. 1, 2, 3, 1.
Yeah, that's good. Just be careful, you know, well, I shouldn't say be careful, because that's intimidating, but, you know, be careful. The problems involved for the players basically are one of control, because the parts go very high, very loud and very soft. And this requires a lot of physical strength, which obviously people at that age haven't really achieved as yet, although the first player, Beatrice, the young lady, and the third player are both becoming music students at this year, so the standard of their playing is very high. There's quite a lot of fluffs going on. Let's just do it once more. Let's concentrate on production sound, okay? Let's do the same thing. 2, 3. 2, 1. I'm doing this too fast, by the way.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, okay, fine. Pair of spectacles, please. 3 bars before 56. It's a very long note, tight note, that. You have to wait for the second and the third beat before you move off it.
They're working 3 sessions a day, and on top of that, they're using all the breaks to tidy up some of the ragged corners. Now, we have had a few problems creeping up. One of them was, in one of the pieces, there's very rapid pizzicato, which on a cello you can't do with one finger. So we've had to adopt a 2-finger method, which enables greater speed. They're finding this very difficult, though. We're beginning to get there.
This section come together once every 3 months, basically. And so they're not playing together regularly. So the first couple of days, they get back into it, and no woodwind instrument is actually in tune. No perfect tuning on an instrument. So they found out that the person sat next to them, his A is rather different to their A, and they have to learn how to compromise tuning. And actually starting notes together, finishing notes together. When you've got an individual lesson, you don't have to worry so much about that, but when you've got an ensemble of this sort of size, starting and finishing together and getting the dynamic contrast and all the ingredients of real ensemble playing, it takes them a day or two to actually get back into it.
And 1. Once again, it's that first note, the clarinet's A sharp with the flute's G. Once again, and 1. Off. Now come off on the second beat. 1, off. Okay, steady up. 2, listen carefully. 1. Off. Again on the second beat. And 1. 1. Off. Okay, more sound on the first 4 notes of that previous bar, yeah? And then, again, you've got room to diminuendo.
The message went round, no talking in rehearsal, we've got Luto. And so well, John O'Neill was warned about 5 times, and I was warned about 4 times, and we thought, well, we better keep quiet, you know. And this tiny little fella walked in a suit next to John Stevens, and walked over and went on the rostrum, mucked about the stand, and decided the whole thing wasn't safe. he had such a hold over us. I mean, a very small man, but he had so much power. He seemed to be able to control every single one of us all at once.
Well, you see, you are now playing a piece that I composed 30 years ago. Also, a piece which it has a rather peculiar place in my production. And this is a piece that I composed along a principle which could be formulated as follows. I write as I can, but not really as I would like to. And that's why I had to wait several years until I really felt mature to begin employing my new means of expression. Tempo primo, it's 55, please. 55. Subito meno vivo. Horns and trumpets, be prepared to the to the tempo being suddenly slower at 55. So just wait for the third beat, you know, and don't be ahead of me. Please, 55. 1.
because as soon as he stands up on the platform, everything sort of drops and everybody pays attention, and you just get a feeling of him being a very strong person. It comes through in his music.
I felt it went very smoothly for our first rehearsal. We'd been working at it all day long, and the final culmination was very worthwhile.
Yes, I feel it hangs together much more. The phrase is finished, whereas before you just had bits. It's got a certain awe about him, you know. As soon as he came in, everybody was hushed and very sense of importance, and I think everybody concentrates a lot better.
The doctor came in, everyone stopped playing and sort of was astounded by his presence, and it makes a great difference.
He's got a lot of presence. He's quite awe-inspiring, which is quite surprising, seeing he's such a little man.
I don't know, he just draws your attention. You have to focus on the music, he makes you understand it more.
Simply by keeping quiet.
There are plenty of opportunities for the members of the orchestra to discuss with the composer what their actual intentions are and what they're thinking about when they're writing the music. And the levels of concentration that are demanded from them, both by the tutors and the conductor, are very considerable, and everyone that comes and sees these students working in this way remarks on young people giving their attention and their commitment to working as a team and working towards something which eventually is going to be a public performance at the Barbican.
Some music, and if I was having people playing my music, I get so precise about what they're doing. Well, the thing with the Luto is you have to count absolutely all the time, because it changes. The first two bars are in 3 and the next bar is in 1 and so on. You just have to count all the time. You have to be awake, and if you play through the whole thing, you sort of feel, you take your eyes off the music and you feel as if you don't want to go, ha, because you've been concentrating so hard on it. But within each bar, the rhythms are relatively simple. They're either in 4 or 3. You don't have to worry too much. But with this, it changes every time, every note.
And in a way, it's sort of pointillistic, although it's not Webern-esque, but the principle is pointillism in the way the members of the orchestra just play little fragments and it all fits together like a jigsaw. So in the end result, it it works, but when you're sort of rehearsing, especially in sectional rehearsals, I think it's perhaps a little frightening for them.
We also have one or two problems we've yet to overcome. For instance, having to play the cymbal with a violin bow. There's a definite knack involved. That sometimes it works first time, other times it's very frustrating because you hold it correctly, you get the bow, and you go, and silence comes out. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Oh, I've got 2 of the bells there. No?
The second movement's very sort of subdued in character, mysterious sort of, fairly light orchestration, lots of harmonics and strings. It begins with the very high bassoon solo with a background of muted violins playing harmonics which sound rather ethereal.
One of the most important things I consider when I compose, because I immediately compose into full score, I'm always thinking of the colours, and some of these colours determine a lot of my sort of musical ideas. It has that sort of wonderful sort of mystic quality. It's just like being a painter. You sort of have the main drawing, as it were, and one fills it in with instrumental colours, and I wanted it just, the sounds to appear.
Do you feel that you write for yourself or for an audience?
It's a very important question. It's very important when you speak about the life of a composer. And that's why I think the only honest attitude is to write for oneself. But I don't think it's purely egoistic and antisocial, because I think I can presume that I'm similar to a certain amount of people, and they can find in my music something for themselves.
All of you now, 57, please. 57.
The articulation is not as it should be. It should be a very strong spiccato, off the string, but not da ra 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 ra, not that I'll show you, but strong spiccato, but very sharply attacked. Please, once more the same. 57. Some of you plays one note too much. Once more, please. 3 before 58.
That's sort of the basic climax of that particular part. And then suddenly it diminuendos and there's a real big row which you have to watch out for. And then it suddenly dies away and it's very quiet again, and that bit's just fades away.
Quite a different tempo, different world, you know. You must write it down somewhere, because otherwise you'll always automatically will be a hit. So, please, once more the same group. Flutes, glockenspiel, xylophone, and first violins. 60. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, remember.
At first, it was very formal. As soon as you walked in, it was dead silence, and it got more friendly towards the end.
I mean, we get some conductors who say, OK, we're a youth orchestra. We're not expected to have that discipline that a professional orchestra would have. But he didn't. He treated us like a professional orchestra, and it paid off. We acted like professional musicians most of the time.
Third beat, already too late. Too late, the second trumpet. Dum, bum, 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 bum. Listen to the kettle drum, to the timpani. She beats. She beats the crotchets. If you can't follow me, you know, just if you read and you don't watch me, so listen to her. Please, once more the same.
Let's go from 180. Relax there. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum. You're rushing some of the semiquavers. 180. 1, 2.
Well, there are some really difficult parts, but you can fake a lot of it by just wiggling your valves.
The title of this piece is derived from an island between Seattle and Vancouver, and it refers to a channel there which deceived Vancouver when he was planning and plotting the course and making maps there. And the last movement refers to the rapids. That's the rapid rate of water running through this narrow channel.
Move it.
Your lips are looking very rosy. Shall we call it a day?
Yeah, we've actually managed to get some of the notes. I really like it now. It's lovely. Well, as a person, I think the orchestra all have great respect for him, and the fact that we're actually working with the composer makes it a really sort of new experience, because we've never done that before.
So we decided we'd actually have a jam session on the last night. We thought, well, what time? You know, what would the disco? And everyone wanted to go down to the pub, and the rehearsal ending late and everything. Someone said, well, what about 11? And so we sort of decided, well, what should we play? And just let Jason get on with it. Jason played piano. Just let him get on with it until he came up with something we knew. And he sort of embarked on Summertime after about 5 minutes with this amazing chord playing. So we all joined in and had a really good time, and it really worked well. It was fun to play and a great relief from the hard work.
Bavarian Buffalo
Everyone was sort of pretty tired after the disco, last night, and went into the morning rehearsal, and Paul decided to do a run-through, straight through the concerto. And that was really the point when it really all came together.
If everyone just played what was in front of them, then the piece came out okay. If everyone started thinking, is that the tune, should I be a bit louder, should I be a bit quieter, then it didn't work. That had all been done by Patterson in the orchestration.
I asked Patterson whether he was in a bad mood when he wrote it, because it sounded as though he was totally strung up about something. He said he wasn't, but it means that you can't actually sit there and just listen to it without getting that really tense, nervous feeling.
I was horrified when she said that to me, because I'm always in a good mood. Most composers are sort of manic depressives, and I'm certainly always sort of jolly.
And on the last rehearsal, the very last rehearsal, Paul sort of said, Richard, you're a bit of a jazzer, aren't you? And I'm sort of hiding behind a music stand. Everyone else is saying, yes, he is, he is. He said, well, can you jazz it up a bit? And I thought, for God's sake, I've been working to make this, stop it sounding jazzy for 4 days, and he tries to get me to jazz it up. He said, make it Gershwin-esque.
Also, how can you be angry writing a 6/8 movement?
I think it's a good experience. I mean, a lot of people don't, bias towards one composer, but I still think it's a good experience to have the two different composers and see two different ways they compose and they conduct and try and convey their music, even though some people don't like some of the music and some of the ways they go about it.
They didn't really understand Patterson at first, but the composer actually went through the structure of the piece, and that was very, very helpful. I think it did take the orchestra time to get used to the conductors, especially Luto, because he was such a well-respected conductor and composer. But once that had settled down, we could really get on, and he was so precise as well.
else. Play once more. Once for me. Thank you. I think it's enough for today because I must go and catch my train. So see you in London. Thank you. Thank you.
Look, it's Dave Pepper. I have to go out. Sorry.
And then the strings just have the tune with the theme.
You wouldn't actually shoot him with a door, would you? Would you? Would you believe it? Yes. I'll believe it. I'll believe it.
Sorry, Mary. We just.
This is like one of those. It'll be all right in the night things.
It's worse than
Oh dear.
Same as last
Thank you very much. You're nasty, you are. You're really cruel. That wasn't fair.
Cut.